Everyone. I hope you are having a good day right now and staying safe everywhere you are. My name is Angga, and today I'm going to explain a little bit about Redux in Flutter, how to use it, what are the pros, the cons, and how am I using it in my Flutter projects. So yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is me. My name is Angga Arifandi. You can call me Angga. I'm from Indonesia. I have 2 years experience of Flutter development with me. I have my GitHub page. I published some Flutter libraries there as well. And I also occasionally write blogs on my Medium, which is this is the link. So yeah, you can saw the blog post that I made. All about it is about Flutter. Okay, so first of all, I'll go through the problems I've been experiencing when I'm developing Flutter apps. Okay, so as we all know, Flutter is really early at this stage compared to other mobile development framework like Android native or iOS native, or probably compared to React native as well. It was relatively new. Its 1.0 version was released on 4th of December 2018, and that reflects on the state management options that I saw that it keeps changing every year. At least in my opinion, the trend is changing every year. So probably in the first year we have inherited widget, and then after that the scope model start being hyped, and then after that we have block, and then lately we've been using provider a lot, and then also a lot of people are talking about how they use the provider here and there in their Flutter applications. But I see that this could be really confusing if I were to Flutter for the first time. And then yeah, because so the trend is keeps changing, so it's haven't been settled yet, so I don't really know if I used for example provider now, would people be using a provider, or would it still be the best options like 1 or 2 years later after now. And that could be a problem if we wanted to release our application for a long term, for example 4 or 5 years from now. If we keep changing the state management implemented inside our app, it could be a huge pain, right? So another problem that I've been experiencing is Flutter. I think we can all agree that Flutter is so flexible, fast, and UI oriented. And what I mean by this is, we all know that in Flutter, everything is basically a widget, right? So from the application itself until a single button or a text is a UI. So it is really convenience writing UI code in Flutter, but I see that this comes with a cost, and that cost is the separation of concern. I think could be can be missed sometimes by a developer inside their apps. And in a nutshell, separation of concern is basically which element should be responsible for what. For example, we could separate three elements inside our applications, which is UI, business, and local database. And those three elements should have a concern of themselves, so they wouldn't meddle in with each other. So for more for clear issues about separation of concern, this is an example. So for example, we could create an example widget. Let's call it an example widget, and then we could I do this in my early days with Flutter. I call all of the business logic, all the fetching data from API inside the init state. So basically, this means that this widget would have a lot of concern, a lot of responsibility. This widget would be responsible for calling a controller from business logic, or probably saving local data or something. And I think that could be a problem if we plan to release the application in the long run, because as the logic keeps adding, the code in this block would get much more. So there are two problems that I've stated. So first, if it is the state management options trend frequently changing every year or every 2 years, and there are basically too much options in Flutter. So people are getting confused, and other is the separation of concern issues in Flutter. At least in my opinion, I feel that it is really bugging me that we have to do it right in order to be able to maintain the application for a really long time. And I propose a solution for this, which is Redux. So what is Redux? So Redux originally was an experiment by a programmer from Facebook named Dana Bremov. So he was, creating this project for hot reloading with time travel with React at 2015, which is around five years ago. So in a nutshell, Redux basically works like this, so that you guys wouldn't be confused. So basically, we all have a state inside our application, right? For example, we have a button with a text on it, and if user clicks on it, the state is changing. So this state could be changed only with reducer functions in Redux, and then that state would be changed or transformed into a new state, which we'll see in a bit in next set of slides. And then that new state would be published into the view or widget, so that the view can get that new state and then display something. For example, we could show a switch that are being shown on and off or something like that. Basically, Redux works like this, so you wouldn't need to put a lot of thought in this. Basically, it's as simple as this. So Redux have three core principles in its official documentation. The first is single source of truth, which means that inside the application that implements Redux, if so basically the source of data should be just one. So there shouldn't be any two sets of data that are being listened inside the application. For example, if we have a database one and database two, for example, we should only rely on one single source of truth. So we should create an abstraction layer on top of it. So we should only listen into that abstraction layer. We shouldn't listen into two source of truth or source of data. And then second one is state is read only. And what this means is we shouldn't mutate state, but what we should do is we should return a new state, and basically a new constructed state, but with different data. Please take a look at the difference here, because it is really different between mutating data and creating new sets of data based on old sets of data, and then we change something from it. And then last is changes are made with pure functions. So basically this means that we should always rely with functions to change the data. We shouldn't change the state by hand inside the view or the widget or something that is disobeying the core principles of Redux. So what's so good about it for Flutter compared to the problems that I've stated in the previous slides? So first, Redux is mature, really mature, and really backed by community. So its v1.0 version was released on 1st of July 2015. It's actually having its fifth birthday just a while ago. And then the contributors is a lot as well. Last time I checked, they have around 700 contributors, so that is a lot. And it is being used by I think a lot of application. I think if you asked a developer, probably more than 1 of 10 have used Redux in their lifetime, I guess. At least most of my developer circles already use Redux. Okay, next one is Redux have been already ported into a lot of platform and language. Originally Redux is available for React, and then it's also available for React Native. And then there are also some ported version for Android, which is uh, RE Kotlin, for example, or Redux Java. And then it was also available for Swift as well. And lastly, it's also available for Flutter as well. So that is a really good point. So last point of why Redux is a really good example or a solution for the problems that I've stated previously was Redux was really easy to test, and we'll see in a bit why I'm saying this. And then after that, the separation of concern in Redux can be really well defined. So what I mean by this is we can make it such it very clearly that each element would be only responsible for one thing and one thing only, and then other element would take care of other thing for that element. So basically everything should be independent. So the dependency between all of those elements would be really minimal. So I really like that. So next up is an example of how could we use Redux in Flutter. So first, the core libs that are available for Flutter or Dart, there are two of them, which is Redux. Right now, it is already having its 4.0 version, so it's pretty mature as well. And then after that, we have a specific version of Redux for Flutter for all of its widgets and then context and then so on and so forth. Uh, it's made by Flutter community and Brian Egan. So yeah, kudos to them. And then there are also some utility libs, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use this lib. I also use this lib for some cases. This is usually for some, advanced features, for example, persisting data or using a synchronous function inside our Redux. So yeah, we can also use this, but I'm not using this in my example. So let's cut to the chase and see the exact code. Okay. So the project that we'll be doing today is this really simple application that have a registration process. So basically, user should just fill their email at email.com, for example, and then they should just submit their email. They could also click back to back to one previous process, and then after that they will need to fill their username, and after that they will click register. And when they click register, we will try to verify their data, and that is a dummy, and we'll see in a bit. And after that, we'll show a dialog which shows register success. And then if we click OK, we could, go or redirect it to a completion page. And then we could click reset and go back to the beginning again. So that is a simple app, and we'll see how could we do this with Redux implemented inside this application. Okay, so what will be covered is first the basic state management with Redux in Flutter, which consists of having this number right here or state, which is basically just this is the step one, and then we could go to step two, and then we could go back to step one again. We could to see how that should work inside the Redux Flutter application. And then after that, we could also, see how to navigate between pages with Redux as well. And then last but not least, we could see how to execute a complex process with Redux. For example, hitting the API or fetching data from the API, or probably saving data to a local database. Yeah, something like that. And then for this example, I've created a short link for this, which is right here. You can see it. Basically, this consists of the GitHub repository that I've uploaded uh, of this application. So you can see it for yourself as well if you more convenience with that. Okay, so the dependencies needed for this application is just a few. We would need the core Redux dependencies, which is Redux and Flutter Redux. And then after that, we would also need a copy with extension. And what is this? Is basically this could copy Dart object, a plain Dart object, into a new one with a change data or attributes of something. So yeah, this is all. Next up is this app structure. We could see it right here. Basically, we would organize it like this. So we would have three main folders, which is app, core, and then UI. And then main.dart will call, basically will consist of only this code. And then the application file would be inside the app folder. And then after that, we'll go through the core would be for handling business logics and so on and so forth. And the UI is pure UI. Basically, it would just consist of nothing but UI, and then it would dispatch some actions for Redux, but we'll see in a bit. Okay, so how Redux works in a nutshell inside Flutter. I think I need to explain this for all of you who haven't any experience with Redux before. So basically, we have a state, right? This is a state, for example. This is the first step of the registration process. That is the state. So that state would be passed into a view, and this is a view, the text that I'm showing, one or two. And then after that, for example, if user taps screen, for example, this button right here, it would change the state. Also, how it would work in Redux. So it would dispatch an action like this. So what happened right here? So the app would dispatch an action, and then after it dispatch an action, it would call the reducer function, and we'll see in a bit what this would look like. Basically, reducer function is a function to mutate state, or not mutate state, to create a new state based on some conditions from this action. And then after that, the reducer function would create a new state, and then those new state will be sent or be delivered into the view. So this text is changing, will showing this back button. Yeah, so that is basically it. And one other thing is one additional thing is we use middleware. And what is middleware is basically it intercepts an action. For example, this submit email action would be intercepted by a middleware, and we could do something in it. For example, we wouldn't let this action be dispatched or be ran if some condition are not met or something. Yeah, we could use middleware exactly for that. So first of all, we'll go into the Redux folder inside the core folder, the main core folder, and then inside the Redux. So we'll first talk about the state. So basically, we'll have to prepare the state for this screen, which is the registration state, which consists of a simple email string and then username string as well. And then we would have an enum called registration step. So wait a minute. Basically, the registration step is just a simple enum that consists of first and last. We could add anything right here. So basically, the idea is having this status where we could know the exact state of our registration process. That is all. So yeah, it would look like this. And then we could also, insert some default value for the parameters or attributes as well. in this case, so we set the default value for step only for step to the registration step dot first, because it makes sense, right? Every time the user comes to the app, it would be showing the first step. And then after that, we would go to the up state, which is the whole state. This state would, be consist of this screen only. But let's say we have another screen. For example, we have a login screen, for example, or a forgot password screen. And then uh, probably we will have to create a new state. Probably not, but probably we would have to create a new state here, for example, login underscore state, and then create a new one, something like this, with the information needed inside our login page, for example. And then after that, we would, include the registration state inside the app state, and then define the default value for it, which this expression right here would execute this. So it would be a null email, and then null username, and then the step would be set into registration step dot first. So that is all for step, for state. I'm sorry. And then after that is the action. Like I, try by clicking this, it would run the submit email action, right? And then if I click this, it would hit or run a different action. So what are the actions that we need inside this simple application? So basically, we would need, just ignore the others. We would just focus on the registration for now. So we would have I'm sorry, five action. First is go to first page action, which will be dispatch or run when we click this back button, because it makes sense, right? It would, reset the enum, the step enum into the first step, yeah, because right now it is in the last step. And then as for the go to last page action, it would be dispatched when we click the submit email button. And then for the submit action, it would be run into the run when we click this register button. And then we would call this registration success action whenever, we've done hitting or fetching data from the API, or probably, verifying if the username and email is valid and not registered before in our database. And after that, after we call this, it would show this dialog right here, which says register success. And then if we click OK, it would, we have this reset button, which, resets all of those that we've done before. And then we are going back into the first, the original state. Okay, so that is for actions. After that, we would have the reducer. So what a reducer is, just basically just function that can create a new state from old one with something changing from it. Okay, for example, uh, let me open the reducers. Okay, so we will, define the reducer for all of the actions that we just defined before, right here. So for example, the go to first page action, we would just need to, this is all just a placeholder. You can copy it from my repository. And then we could just, define a reducer or the, transformation function for the go to first page action. And then after that, it would receive the action and then the old state, and then it would, return a new state, a whole new state that, we've been transformed before. So in this case, go to first reducer would only change the step into the registration step dot first, right? That makes perfect sense. And then that also goes with go to last. We would just, change it to last, and then we could also do something from it. For example, I could store the email instead, in case I need it for the future, for another screen. And then for this submit reducer, basically it would just call the or change the username into the user defined one. So if I input this as Angga, it would change into something that I've been typing. And as for reset, we would just reset the whole state into a completely new one. That is all for reducer. So as of right now, we would define all the actions, the reducers, and the state. So everything was in place. We could just use this for our widget right here. So how to use that is there's actually a lot of strategies to do this, but one of these strategies that I've been implementing in my projects was to create a class called App Store. So basically, this class would just have one function called create store, which will init the store, and then it would return the store. Wait, this have something else. Okay, let's see in this one. So basically, we could just create this store right here by calling app store dot create store, and then we could call the reducer dot reduce function. Oh, wait, I think I forgot to explain about the. Oh wait, yeah, this is the reducers. So this is also just a placeholder. Basically, we would store all the reducers inside our map, and inside the map, for example, if I add some login reducer, I could call something like add all login reducers and so on and so forth. So you can just copy this exact code. This is not final. This is just a strategy to how can we make this as clean as possible, as neat as possible. So I'm doing it like this. So I just call this function reducer.reduce inside this store creation, and then I would define the initial state, which is just a plain creation of app state. And then after that, we would have to wrap our app.dart inside the store provider. So basically, this is the same thing like provider. We could just create the store file, and then I'm creating this on initialization of our application. So basically inside the constructor, I would create this store. Just ignore the navigator key. We will get back into that later. And then after that, so inside this material app and its children, we can already use this store, this instance of store, everything. I'm sorry, everywhere. I mean, so basically we can just use this for dispatching store, dispatching actions like I'm talking previously, or do something with it. Or we can just use it directly. Okay, so how to use upstate inside widget? So to use this, we would need something called store connector, and it receives a builder and a converter. And then the converter was to so basically this Flutter Redux package that was created in pub.dev doesn't let us just use or it is, I think it's not a good practice to use directly the upstate inside our widget. So we have to convert it into some thing else. So usually we'll have a view model. So basically this is just an object of state for that exact view. So if we have two page, register and login, we would have two different view model, register view model and login view model. So how would it look like? It would look like this. So basically we would just create a step text. Step text is basically this one slash two, and then two/2. This is the string that will supply into the widget. We can make it, this can be anything you want, basically. This is just my strategy of using a div state and then converting it into view model. And then after that, we could pass in some state or some object inside the view model. Uh, for example, in my UI state was basically just an enum. This is also a good rule of thumb. So basically, in Redux, we should separate this app state, the global state, a state for everything inside the app, and the local state. And the local state, what I mean by local state is the state for this exact screen or this exact widget. We should separate this. So we shouldn't, use because we already create an enum in the registration state, right? Something called registration step, and we shouldn't use this inside the widget. But this is a good rule of thumb, I think. So this create a better, separation. So basically, the global state would stay as it is. It would consist of only global state, and for local state like this, we could, create some additional files or object, for example, like this registration UI state, something like this. It probably makes no sense if I do it like this, because it is basically just the same, But probably if you've developed a really big application and then it have a lot of business logic inside it, probably there is someone who are taking care of the backend part or the logic part, and then there will be some other person who are in charge of the view only. It would make perfect sense because every layer would have its own concern. So basically, the UI wouldn't be taking care of any of app state. So they will only care about the registration view module, and then that's all. So I think that is a good rule of thumb. Okay, so on the converter, it's basically just converting the information received from the app state. For example, I would in case of the step being registration step dot first, I would show step text as 1/2, and then for last would be 2/2 or something like this. So that is all for the converter. And last but not least, so we could just use the store connector right now already. So basically, in this phase, we would already see this screen right here. We could, receive the app state inside the view or the widget itself. So that is good. The first step is done. So next step is navigating between pages with Redux. Okay, so for example, user is in page A, and then after that, a user clicks a button, and then user have to be navigated to page B, right? So usually we'll have this navigator dot of context dot push or dot pop or something else. So how to do this with Redux? Okay, luckily we have something in Flutter called a navigator key. So basically, it's a global key on a navigator state. So we could, create a global key and then have a reference to it, and then we could just call a navigator key dot current state dot push something. So this is the exact same equivalent as I'm sorry as this navigator dot of context dot push. This is the basically the same thing. Okay, so how would we, create this in Redux? How would we use this? So basically, it would work like this. So user in page A, for example, this is another page by the way. For example, if I'm in this page and when I click register, it would show some dialog and then show another dialog, and then if we click OK, we would be redirected into another set of page, right? So how would we do this? So basically, all we do is whenever a user clicks a button, we would just dispatch one action and one action only. That is the entry point action, we could say. And then that entry point action could be intercepted in the middleware. And then when the action is intercepted in the middleware, we could just call this code. But calling this code is not elegant, right? It's not a neat. So we would have all of this navigator key, the current state dot push everywhere inside the middleware. So we should make it some definition on what action or what navigation action could be done inside this scheme. So I define some action right here. For example, I have this navigate to next action, which is equivalent of navigator dot push, and then I have also a navigate to next and replace action, which is the equivalent of navigator dot push replacement. And then I also have a show dialog, show bottom sheet, and navigate back. This is the definition, and I think you can create it for yourself. But if we see it right here, we have this class, navigation destination. So what is it basically? Okay, so navigation destination is just an abstraction layer that I created for this, Redux theme. Basically, it would have one function called build widget. So we will need to define the destination of each and every page. For example, when we click register, it would show the loading dialog. It will have one destination, and then this success dialog right here will also have its own navigation destination, and we click OK, and then this also will have its own destination. So it's probably something like an enum or something, but we'll have a definition of how this destination would be rendered inside the application. And one good thing is we could also well, this is the example of navigation destination. We could also, insert some arguments or some parameters inside this destination, and then pass it into the, build widget method. So I think this is very handy. I've been using it for a while now, and I think this is, really easy to be done inside the widget. Okay, so that is it for the navigation. Next up is, oh wait, okay, let me probably explain to you what happened inside this register button. By the way, I don't feel any validation for this because that doesn't matter now. So yeah, we can ignore it. So basically, when we click this register button, what it does is basically, let's see. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, wait. Let's go back. Oh, that is it. Okay. So this page is called the last step page, last registration page. I divided into two file, so it can be more clean, I guess. And then after that, in case of register, clicked right here. We could just dispatch one action only, the entry point action. I call it a submit action. So as I was explaining, the submit action, basically inside the reducer, if we see it clearly, it would just change or yeah, add the username that is being filled right here. But we insert some middleware inside of it called navigation middleware. So what it does, I'm sorry, this the registration middleware, for example, I'm sorry, the registration middleware we are calling the submit action. Okay, so the submit action will call the handle submit action before continuing into changing the app state. And in this state, we will call a store dot dispatch dot show dialog action with the destination is loading dialog destination. So basically, this will call this verifying your data dialog. That is all it does. And then after that, I created a dummy controller right here to mock the API behavior. So I also created an on success function. So inside the on success function, we would call the store.dispatch registration success action. So what I mean by this is when we click this register button, it would only show, it would only dispatch just one action, which is submit action, and then those submit action would handle everything about logic or about fetching data or storing local data into database. And then after that, it would call the registration success action, which registration success action will close the loading dialog before, and then after that show a new dialog which is showing the register success text. And then after that, it could have a button click, and then it could navigate to the next destination, which is the complete registration complete destination. So yeah, as you can see, this registration page would only call and care about dispatching the sorry, that is the wrong thing. Dispatching the submit action, and that is all. All of the logic behind it would be taken care inside the middleware. So I think that is nice because we will have really flexibility, and it would be really really easy to test this, because all we should do is just mock this store provider that dispatch submit action is being called, and that's all. We wouldn't have to care about anything else in there. So yeah, okay, that's all for navigation. And then as for the complex operation, I actually already gave you an example on the middleware right here. So the middleware we call the API controller.call API, right? This is the mock of a complex operation. For example, we could store a data or fetch an API or something like here, and then after that we could call something else, and then everything would be handled inside the middleware, and then the UI would only care about the entry point action, and that is all. So yeah, I think that is very very handy. Okay, so this is our application. It's actually pretty simple, but I think using Redux, we can make this simple application really, really, really testable, and the separation of concern is really clear in this application. Yes. Okay, so next up is, wait, I already explained about this as well. Okay, so last is the pros and cons of using Redux inside our application, inside our Flutter application. So the pros is one, I think each element has very clear responsibility and concerns. Uh, say if we have a new programmer or a developer, explaining things to him would be really easy, and defining the docs would be super easy, because everything is already have its responsibility. And for example, if we want to separate the concern of one developer only for handling logic and other developer only for handling UI, I think that would be really easy. And I think a single source of truth is really one powerful concept in Redux. So I really loved it. And then after that, it would be really easy to test and can give clear directions for that as well. And the cons is definitely this would took longer time to implement compared to other state management, or if we don't use state management at all, it would take a lot of time by using this Redux. And then it is quite complicated compared to other options. For example, if we use provider, it would be much simpler. So I think the rule of thumb here is if probably this would be really suitable for if you wanted to, you have a vision that this app would really stick for you for a long time, for example, 4 or 5 years. And then if you would have a lot of devs to work on it. And then, yeah, I think that could be a good rule of should I use Redux in our application, or should I use Redux in my application? Yeah, something like that. Okay, thank you. That is all from me. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask right now, or if you wanted to email me, you can do that as well. My email is right here, Angga Arifandi 96 @gmail.com. Okay, thank you.